Good evening, everyone. If you're all with me or you're all watching the game, I don't know what's happening tonight. The football, I don't want any football. Please, no football tonight. No scores, no nothing. No, like, oh, we're getting whoever, It's all the same to me now, unfortunately. So, no footy, please. Thank you. The Ironside. On this day in 1980, the Blues Brothers, great film, though. It's our screens. It's 106 miles to Chicago. We've got a full tank of gas, a pack of cigarettes. It's dark and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it. Wasn't it a great film? Absolutely brilliant. Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi, unfortunately took his own life, or just a drug overdose. That's the way they are over there. Drug mad. And I carries on by saying, little known fact, the film held the record for most cars destroyed in Galway at the time, 103 in Galway. Universal had to set up a special body shop just to repair the vehicles for these shoots. Johan. Hey, Johan. Do you know what I was streaming today, Johan? Live. It came on live. St. Petersburg. I was looking for you. And do you know what was strange? Where it was streaming, where it was streaming from, it was a big wide road. We call them dual carriageways here, but they're dual carriageways. There's about 6 of them put together. Anyway, a zebra crossing, and all of a sudden, this couple just appeared from the left, and they stood by the zebra crossing, waiting for them, cars to stop, and he walked across, right? Strange thing is, she was a bride and he was a groom. They must have just got married, like in a registry office or something, because I see no churches around. And they just walked across. The people were looking at them, Great. And I also seen a street talk, and he was a photographer, and he was taking pictures, people and showing them, the photograph that he's just taken of them. And he was saying everyone, especially like the young girls, like about 18, 19, and into the early 20s, taking them. But he's also taking the ordinary people as well, like middle-aged, and showing them. And I was wondering, what's he doing there? And then I realised when he took out a thing and he wrote it down, writing their addresses down. They're saying, they must have been saying, yeah, I'll have one of them if you send it. Because that happened here in Liverpool years ago. Fella going around, especially at the weekend, Saturday nights were the best for him. Because then you had the fellas and the girls, going out. And so anyway, that was going back, brought back a memory for me, which was great, really great. And that he was only a young fella as well. He was only young, going around with his camera, clicking. So that was me today, Johan. Anyway, as he says, good evening, Frank and Ledgy, and smash the likes on the way in. Still no word from Deb regarding the. Do you know why? I don't know whether it's my fault or what. Jason, it's a mess, honestly, what this bloody fella has done. Really? Because I sent you an email, Johan. And never mind 10 years, it's only what? 1, 2. But anyway. But it made up like she got in touch last night. Really. And Lee Brady, I knew. Hello, Frank. How's you, mate? New signing, looks good from what I've seen, mate. Have you managed to see any? Yeah, I seen them today. When he was playing, he was only a youth playing for Real Madrid. That's the only thing I've seen of him. Okay, no football, Frank. Thank you. Thank you. Our little Lindsay. Evening, Frank. Hiya, Lindsay. Hope you're still out and about, mate. Honestly. Really, I do. And Lisa, is any decent film you've seen this week? Frank, I watched World War II for Axor Ridge against Japan. Yeah, I've seen it. It's really good, actually. It's a good film. The film that I think ends all films, for realism, was Saving Private Ryan. But they got the story wrong, as usual, the Americans. And it was a British force that was saving Private Ryan, not Americans. And Janet says, hiya, everyone. A beautiful day. Yeah. Not that I went anywhere. And Edward said, hello, Frank. Same to chat. Yes. Yes, Edward. Hello, mate. The picture in the background looks like the town on a Saturday night. I'm glad you there said that, because it does, doesn't it? And let's see. Evening, Frank, and chat. Right, what I want to talk about, as Lee said there, you've seen a good film lately. They got the saying wrong on the Saving the Private Ryan as well. When the Allies say flash thunder. Hang on, you've gone up a little. When they say flash thunder, they got that back to front. Yeah, they did. Yeah, back to front. Thunder flash, should have been. Yeah, bang on. And Lee led them. Hiya, Lee. Can you remember, Frank, when a blockbuster film came out and they would be queuing around the corner to get great chat? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. What did I go and see? And there was a queue. Let me think about that, Lee, Carl. What I actually seen, and I remember queuing up for it. I'll tell you where I went to see it as well, in the Gormont. In, where I lived, just off London Road. Oh, what was it? I'll come to it. I will get it. And there was a big queue. But you're right about the blockbusters as well. I remember going in to see the Forum, or the ABC as we later became. And there was a massive queue for Jaws. So I got off. I said, I'm not queuing up for that. So I got off. The next was, I was walking past again. So it was the end of the film. And then they all moved out. You know, seeing them all coming out, and there was no queue. So I went in then and seen Jaws. But there was a queue there. But I'm trying to think of some film that I had to queue up for. Oh, we'll get her. We'll get her. And because even if Frank in chat says Mr. B. Evening, Mr. B. And video shops back in the day. And you know what? I went into a video shop. You know, they first came out. And they took a photograph of. I've still got it on my photo. I'll show you it. I'll show you the photograph they took of me. It's like a mugshot. And a card. Bloody card. Let's see. Where I am. Honestly, it was a mugshot. They said, don't smile, just be your natural self. So I said, okay. And this is going back when they first came out. Just shows you when you actually see the bloody thing. If I've got it. I have got it somewhere here anyway. Just give me a sec. Got loads of my daughter, you know, my granddaughter. Oh yeah, there it is. That's the mugshot. Shows you how long ago that was. Look, black hair. See? I don't know what's wrong with thee. But anyway, that was the mugshot of me. Piss off. No, it's just saying your storage is full. Okay. I don't know where I am now. I don't know where my little pointer is. Oh, there it is. Yeah, videos, Edward. And I remember getting out off them a razor head. So I'll have a go at that. And it was the worst film of it. No, it wasn't the worst like I've ever seen in my life. But, and I brought it back. I said, that was sad. And they give me another one. He said, well, yeah, pick one then. Seeing that you're a new customer. So I got it for nothing, the replacement. And the weekend rental, yeah. Good memories, them, aren't they? Really. And Lisa might have watched of Saving Private Ryan, not seen it in years. Didn't realise Vin Diesel was it as well. Got shot by the sniper. Maybe Pearl Harbor I'll watch too. Do you know what I want you to watch, Lee? If you like them type of films. But get a good copy of it. You know, there's one, but that's on YouTube. You will get a remastered one. It's about what could happen. And it's a cracking film. I didn't half enjoy it. And it's called The Day After. You just see people going about their business. Just doing it. But it's mainly based in a hospital. But you see people, you know, the way they're just walking about and watch it. The Day After. It was made in 1983. Jason Robards stars in it. And it's good. Believe you me, it's good. Just watch it. Frightening. The Day After. Yeah, please, that was on the thing, wasn't it? please rewind the tape because they can't be bothered to rewind it, which is right. Because they just put it back in the thing, don't they, and then sell us on, or hire us out, rent us out. Yeah, please rewind. Yeah, you're right there, say, goes on. And can you tell I love World War II films, but World War One, yeah, 1917. I don't like this fella, Lee, but you can get this on YouTube. I won't watch it. I have seen it, and I've seen it in the past, and brilliant. But I'll never watch this fella again in a film because he was a horrible man. A horrible man. And that was Kirk Douglas. So have a look, and it's a true story about World War One, and it's called Paths of Glory. Paths of Glory. You can get it on YouTube now, and you'll enjoy it. About the French and Verdun. Watch it. And Phil. Hello, Frank and chat. Hello, Phil. Cheers, mate. Cheers, mate. Really good. Shut up, you. Freddie Mercury calls he wants his moustache back. I remember going into a lecture and standing there, like a tutorial it was, and there was all these, the students sitting. There's a fella just sitting there like that, and he went, "You don't half suit that mouse on your top lip." I looked at him, "You what?" He said, "Oh, it was a joke." It was funny though. It was funny. You don't half suit that mouse on your top lip. Barry Alden. Oh, where have you'd been watching the match last night, wasn't you, Barry? You're bang out of order. Because we don't watch football. Anyway, he says, even if Frank and Chap been in a bit of a pain with my tooth flat until I had a pull today. Much calmer now. I'm sorry about that. I thought that England gave you the toothache. I remember going out with my mates at the last World Cup, and he doesn't support England, and I don't support England. This is the only football thing I'm talking about. Anyway, I'm walking along, and me and him, I said, "Yeah, we're going here." Yeah, okay. So we went in, was it the Euros? Not quite. No. Was it the Euros? No, it was the World Cup. I'm sure it was the World Cup. Well, anyway, one of the two. And he goes into the pub, and these fellas sitting there, like youngish fellas with the England jerseys on them. Now, I was looking today, and it's had like Liverpool and Manchester. I just turned it off, when they were showing like around the country, England playing Croatia, and you see them like this. Honestly, when me and my mates was in the pub, all them fellas who were wearing England tops in Liverpool, in a Liverpool pub, were young students from out of town. Every one of them, all around. Because we went into the town, he was everywhere, down the Cabin Quarter and Matthew Street. and they had the tops on. They were all made up, all outsiders. And I never seen one Liverpool lad with an England top on. Scouser. Might have been a few Evertonians, like, but then again, they're Evertonians. So when I seen her today, you know, at Liverpool, they all had their England tops on. They were all made up, you know, they're giving us all that. All young fellas, they're all students. All students. Telling you now. I'm glad you're calmer now, Barry, you know, especially a toot. Nothing worse than a toothache. And my old mate, Steve Malala. Hi, Frank. I got back home today from Croatia. Oh, go away. I went on a cable car yesterday. Go away. Oh, you said that you were going there, didn't you? Yeah. Beautiful country, Montenegro. Beautiful. And Janet says, Paul McCartney's birthday today. He's 84. When I'm 84. He wants to give up, Paul, though. You know what I mean? No matter what age you get, no matter who you are, your voice gets croakier. And I've heard him lately. His last concert. I've never watched it all. And Mr. B says, a decent documentary, Salvatore Rina, untouchable mafia boss. Got books here about the mafia. Mafiosi. Fucking hell. Time of coming here, my nose goes itchy, and that's strange, that, isn't it? McCartney looks great for his age, says Phil. Thing is, Phil, you know, you'd look great for his, if he had his money. He's a billionaire. He's over a billionaire. Very frugal is Paul. But he's great, you know, to Liverpool charities. I do know that for a fact. He's great to Liverpool charities. And he keeps the Linda McCartney cancer department open. Funds it every year. Does Macca. And he really is the only one who ever came back to Liverpool. Harrison did a couple of times when he was alive. But Macca always came up. I know a lad named Paul Birchall. Paul gets, he's one of these lads who, you know, he's got his own camera and he gets a photograph taken with all these stars, and I mean stars, everyone he has. He always, and he's a big Beatle fan. And Paul McCartney got to know, so he always gets his photograph taken when he's here with Paul, and he posts it up. I remember him getting his photograph taken with Paris Hilton and Pam Anderson. You know, when Pam was all glam and everything. And I said, why didn't you send it up for me to me? He said, oh, behave yourself. I said, well, all right, send Paris up then as well. Two of them. And as it says, Mr. B, there's a series about him as well, which is decent. Good. And Janet says, how you feel? I like that with you. And Toscana. Buonasera, Franco and Co. Hope you're all well. Yes, they are. You can tell they're all moaning at each other and talking to each other, calling you forever in Tuscany. And Phil says about it, I misread your comment, and I thought you said you had a toe pulled. Thought you had stumped toe. Can't make this up, can you? And my toe pulled, stumped toe. And Tuscany. Happy birthday, Macca. Has anyone listened to Paul's new album? No, you'd asked that ages ago, didn't you? No, I haven't heard it. And Jan says, Lipper, he gave my... Yeah, he keeps that going as well. Lipper. And Barry says, I'll be in Southampton next weekend, Frank, so I'll be tuning in from there. The missus is retiring next week, so I've asked my old employers if they had any part-time work. Yeah, get her out of work. All women should work. You know, after cleaning up, doing the dishes, the washing machine, you know, getting the washings up, everything. Hoovering up, everything. We should go to work as they finish making the beds. Mind you know what I mean? They should have the bacon and egg ready as well for us as they go out to work. And we could just leave the plate at the side of us till she comes home. Mr. B. My old neighbour is Paul's personal bodyguard, Brian. He's a different class. Oh, go away. His bodyguard. He has to have a bodyguard, unfortunately. Well, we all seen what happened to John and George. The music lost with them gone. Well done, Phil. Good one, that, Mr. B. What's that? Boys of... Oh, yeah. That's the album, isn't it? Something... Boys of something street, isn't it? No, I haven't. And Ali from Romania. Good evening, Ali. And there we go. Victor Munoz on the way. Yeah. No football tonight, Ali, mate. It's just films. And the T says, it's going to be a sad day when Paul goes. I think it's great to keep alive. His first wife's name by funding the department at the Royal Hospital here in Liverpool. I think that's brilliant. Linda McCartney. That's it, yeah. Boys of Dungeon Road. Never heard it. I don't, most probably, I'll never hear it, you know. I'll never listen to it, to be honest. Janet. Janet, someone had to sign off from the road very fast. Yeah, it's just like Strawberry Fields and them Penny Lane, always going. When I used to do walks, used to go up at all Case History in Hope Street, and all them went little signs like Paul McCartney, because his name was there on the Case History. The Beatles. I think there was only Ringo's left. Oh, no one wanted that. Don't like him. And Phil says, Jalet says, Dungeon Road speak. And Ali said, okay, Franco. Cheers, Ali. This is a film night. We'll be talking about films in a minute. And Johan says, the only good thing you've said about the council in a year. That's the only good thing you said. What's that? Is that me? Because I'm always late, aren't I? But I'm always late, Johan. And Barry says she's the one who made me go for a PSA test, Frank. Basically saved my life. When I received my PSA number 421, so I have to do the hoovering before the iron wash. Oh. 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 All right, Frank, I'll be done. I'm getting a few beers down and just, oh, you would. I'll have a couple for you. Get your hair cut. Albie. Great band. I was talking to, I've had him on my show, but years ago, I was in a pub called the Lord's Warden, and he was in there, Albie. I was just starting to know, but I knew the band. I said, I'm going to see you tonight. He said, I hope you paid for your ticket. I said, yeah, you pay on the door. And I thought he was going to say, well, tell him you know me. And he said, no, I had to pay. Forget how much, but I'll never let him forget that. Cracking fella. Lovely fella. Zelby. And Janet says to Phil, have you seen who pinched the sign? TikTok. Most probably. Or the Russians. The Russians get blamed for everything. Lindsay's name being preserved, says Johan. Yes, Johan. Yes. Yes. Phil says, Janet, it's MOT. Most probably he did. And Gary says, Supercharge. Yes, Supercharge, that's the band. Albie. Supercharge. Great band. I know the Lord's Warden on London Road. That's where I was in. That was me local. The Lord's Warden, where I grew up. Never grew up in the Lord's Warden, but that was me local. It turns out to be the local. And that's where he's just standing in. I said, I'm going to see you tonight. He said, are you? I said, you at the band? Honestly. I said, I hope you pay for your ticket. I said, no, it's paying on the door. I was waiting for him to say, well, all right, don't worry. I remember having Mike Penzer on my show as well, from the Searchers. And he said to me, they were doing a silver show up at the Philharmonic Hall. And I was chatting. He said, are you going? I said, yeah. I said, I might as well get up. He said, okay. He said, come up and ask for me. He said, I'll be it. I said, are you sure? He said, yeah, no problem. Goes up. That's this big bruiser on the door. I said, I have Mike Penzer on the show because it was shocker, you see, the all. And he said, yeah. I said, he's told me to come up and he's going to meet me here. He said, no, he didn't. Shut the door. That was it. Never got in. That's how famous I am. Never got in. Going up there. And the Woodmaster, good evening, Frank. Good evening, Mr. Master. And chat. After your recommendation last night, I've bought A Christmas Carol and Oliver Twist. Sorry for going off. No, that's good. That's good. Because A Christmas Carol is so easy to read. And Oliver Twist. But delve deep into it. And Barry says McCartney should have given it up. Prefer him at his best, like when he had his group Wings, yeah. But when you get older and older, you don't want the memories and everything to fade, or the stardom to fade, unfortunately. And that's the way some people are. It's all right going into a studio and recording, but it's totally different going live. Or admit it. And Barry says, I found a brilliant film on the channel on YouTube. It's got everything on there. Yeah. Is that like for free and you can buy and all this? That one, is it? And Gary says, remember Tony Jackson? He got the sack in by Chris Comey. Tony Jackson. He made it. He made the Beatles. I mean, the Searchers. Needles and Pins. He made it. And he got rid of him. Tony Jackson. And Phil says, Frank Linton never got the respect she deserved by fans. By the way, I would have nicked it, but too slow. Thing is, you see, you're right. You're right. If there's one woman he ever loved, it's her. I mean, truly loved. I don't know what he's seen in that other one. Jeez, I don't know what he's seen in there. And Johan says, has anybody in the chat watched a Russian film called Six-Pack Brother? No. I'll tell you what it is, watch. I can't recall the title of a Russian film, and it opened my eyes. No, two films. One was about, and it was a true story about a cosmonaut, and he has to get up to the Mir space station to unlock something, or they would have just perished, and no one would have been able to like visit them here. And he was the only one who could do a cracking film. But what shocked me was, do you know the way you see like films and you see them, they're out of the spacecraft or whatever, and you just see the earth all nice. But in this, you actually see it, the speed they're going. It was brilliant. And that surprised me. You don't realise how fast these things are going. Because to go past the satellite, not that fast. And another one was just called Invasion. And it was an alien invasion of Moscow. Proper Russian film, cracking film. Really good. But I've never seen that one, brother. Janice says, he can't give up, Barry. That's his life. Oh, come on, it's not his life. He's 84. He's a billionaire. He just, like, it's hard to put it. It's like when someone retires, and I'm talking about Joe Bloggs down the road, and he goes and gets a little part-time job filling shelves. No, that's his life, because he needs the money. McCartney's had it all. He was massive with the Beatles, the greatest band on the planet. What you should have said, not his life, but that's what he does. That's all. Because he's been doing it since he was, 13, 14? So if you say that's his life, it's his, trying to earn a few bob. And Toscana, I agree, Phil. Linda was a great photographer as well, an absolute natural. I've been a fan of hers since I was 8 years old. Her influence got me into photography. That's great, though, because no one realises that she was a fool. Do you know how she was, though, by the way? It never just came about, Linda. You knew she was, don't you? Eastman. They did all the colour prints and everything for every film in Hollywood. So she came from a very privileged background. Gary says, then the Tony Jackson group, and they never quite, they never hit heights, did they? Tony Jackson, unfortunately. But I like Tony Jackson. He had a great voice. And Barry Aldridge, I know, Jan, but like most, I'm going to talk about films now. If you just want to talk between yourself, please carry on. Now, there's a thing. Money can't buy you love. And it can't. There's a great lyrics now. Buy you a diamond ring, my friend, if it makes you feel all right. Do you remember the invaders? Alien beings from a dying planet. Yep. Brilliant series. Roy Tennis. Black and white. That was in colour, that. Seen it in colour. He must have had a black and white telly. Seen it in colour. He made I think it was in the 80s. Yeah, late 80s or something. He actually made a film, TV film, of the invaders, where he's still going around telling everyone that there's aliens. And he was older then. The finger. If you've seen anyone like that with a straight finger, little finger, alien. Janet, has anyone seen the advertisements on the buses? Royal Court, take me home, County Road, made me giggle. No. That'll be one of the lads who I know. Either Nicky Holt or Dave Kirby who's written. Might be wrong. I remember watching a film, CT, called Overlord, about the D-Day landings. It was from the 70s. The British made some great films, Great films. Hollywood, unfortunately, they make history different. They make history different. They really do. And they really think that they're telling the truth, but they want to learn. The Americans for history are dreadful. They haven't a clue. And you see them in films, like these students and what's your major in medieval? Medieval, yeah, fucking hell. They're just reading the script in a film, aren't they? History haven't a clue. Because there's where you had Trump, was it today or yesterday, signing this understanding. Well, come on. What's that all about? Understanding. And he signed it at Versailles. Not a clue. Now, what they're saying, which he has, by the way, they lost the war. America can't win wars. They're having a clue. They're ridiculous. A ridiculous warmongering nation who gets defeated all the time. And Iran has defeated them. And where did he sign that? I'll sign it today instead of leaving it for J.D. Vance tomorrow in America or Switzerland or wherever it was supposed to be signing. And Vance was supposed to sign it, but Trump signed it. Little to someone as advisors did the tick. And what it is that Versailles, the Germans signed the thing at Versailles. They were the defeated. And America has signed it there, defeated. They just never got the history right. See what I mean? Phil said, I saw a film about McCartney. Like and subscribe, says Ali from Romania. Gary says, I'm watching The Fisher King, great movie. That's blimey. Bridges, isn't it? One of the Bridges. He's in it. And there's Robin Williams in it, The Fisher King. Or have I got it wrong? Am I thinking about The Big Lebowski? And Phil says, Frank, I like the classic British films. Carry On, sir. Can't make them, can you? Funny enough, Francine said to me, you know, about Spielberg. She said, no one ever does a remake of them. I said, you can't, not a Spielberg film. You can't do it. You just can't. Can you imagine someone doing a remake of E.T. or Close Encounters or anything like that? Saving Private Ryan? No, you can't do it. It's impossible. And it's like the Carry On series. Who can you get today? Who? There's no one out there. Nobody to do a Carry On thing without the original cast, who everyone was superb. And Barry says, I never get tired of Denzel in the Equalizer trilogy. And the Woodmaster. You mentioned Daniel Craig the other day and his family during World War II. Is that film Defiance set around his family? Very good film. No, it's got nothing to do with his family. Nothing at all. He playing a Jew, wasn't he? When the Jews were resisted against the Nazis in World War II, Defiance. And as I said, I went over to interview his granddad. And he said about, you know, the son. I said, I don't know, sorry. But my point was then, was that his dad was, you know, he's an intelligence officer, MI6 or MI5, not quite so sure, but he was a great friend, or became a great friend with Ian Fleming. What does Ian Fleming write? Or write about? A British intelligence officer. And his grandson, not Ian Fleming's grandson, but Daniel Craig's granddad, his grandson, Daniel Craig, became 007. Wonder what he thought about that, or would have thought if he would still been with us. Phil, I went to the Round Old Rob Brydon interview, Paul. Are we going on about Paul McCartney? I'll tell you what, shall we have a Paul McCartney night? Hey, so we'll just, everything has to be Paul McCartney now. Right, you know, we know that he lived in Fortnum Road and the English heritage thing, you know, you can go and see him anytime you want. Fortnum Road when he was a kid, you know, young lad growing up in Speke. So we talk about Speke and Speke Airport. And Speke Airport, believe it or not, was the very first public airport in the whole of Europe. I say the world. But someone mentioned some airport in America being public. And I argue against the case. It was more transport of goods, and it was only a tiny little place. And Paul McCartney was born in there, you know. His mother actually was a nurse, but she was a nurse, a midwife, up in Sir Thomas White Gardens, which is off Netherfield Road. So Paul, you know, when he was at school, he actually met up with a fella named John Lennon. So this is the Paul McCartney night. Okay. I've said no football. And Janet's going on about Paul McCartney. Sorry, Janet, I'm not having it. And Johan says, Versailles, we just witnessed the end of the American empire. Thank you, Johan. Yes. I'm telling you, America has the so. Look, they haven't a clue. They haven't a clue. They can't even tell you about their own country. You won't see them on YouTube, fella going around just saying, what did he say to this girl, this student? Student. What's the capital of England? And you're not going to believe what she said. She said Mexico. She went, oh, she's at uni. So they haven't a clue outside America. Actors do. Some actors who go into Europe because you have to find out where they're going. But I can't see any American being well up on the thing. They're all right being well up on certain things in their own country. In their own country. But outside their own country, I'll tell you now, you could ask 80% of the American people where Venezuela is. They wouldn't know, albeit that they've just kidnapped the Venezuelan president for nothing. You ask them where Ukraine is, where they're doing a proxy war. Where Iran is, put a map up and go, yeah, where is it? Just having a clue. They don't know what Iranians are like. They don't know what Ukraine's all about. Full of Nazis. And Gary says, well, yeah. Is that the Fisher thing? Yes. And Jeff Bridges, yes, the two of them. Fisher King, yes. Beautiful film, Gary, says Janet. And Johan says, Iran is the 34th most powerful country, by the way. If number one can't beat number 34, the new multipolar world has officially arrived. Yes. But I'm just waiting now, Johan, for what Russia are going to do to... I tell you what, they're sending in the red lines, aren't they? The missiles. Deep into Russia. I'm waiting for the response now because what they targeted was blocks of flats, high-rise blocks of flats for civilians. They got a bus, didn't they? They hit a bus with kids on, little football coach. They hit, didn't they, a few weeks ago, a dormitory, a girls' dormitory, schoolgirls. These are the people that are attacking Russia with the long-range missiles. And they're trying to say that the Ukraine's Western press, like, and they know. So there's going to be a massive response. Massive. But that's for tomorrow night. Has anybody seen True Grit with Jeff Bridges? I prefer the John Wayne one, Janet. Jeff Bridges, I'll tell you, there's a film out, not a film out, I'm sorry. There's a film, I was going to mention it tonight. I'm going to mention my films now. There's a film called K-Pax with Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges is a psychiatrist. And this fella just comes from nowhere, played by Kevin Spacey. And he says that he's from a planet called K-Pax. I watched it when it first came out, believe it or not, years ago. And I watched it again the other night. And it was good. It's one of those films where you go, is he or isn't he? Brilliantly acted as well. Honestly. I'd give you my ending if you've watched it. So if you watch K-Pax on YouTube, Spielberg has a new film about aliens. Sorry, I have forgotten the title. Disclosure, it's called. See? Disclosure. And at least, what's the film with Denzel Washington in it, where the train won't stop? Is it Unstoppable? That's good. Where the train doesn't stop, can't stop, won't stop. Unstoppable. But seeing that it's Denzel and America, he'll stop it. He'll stop it, good old Denzel. And you wanted to say disclosures that they are. Believe it or not, I was shown the trailer of the film on YouTube right before Frank's stream. Emily Blunt's in it, isn't she? And she says, that's the one you want? Does it look good? And Phil says, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, very clever film. That was a very clever film. And Janice says, Daniel Craig spent a lot of time on Bond Street, Prescott. Yeah, you mentioned that last night that he lived up there, didn't you? Daniel Craig. Gary says, Liverpool really got screwed over in 1974, Frank, when they changed the county boundaries. Yes. No one ever mentions that. No one. So, spot on, Gary. Good lad. And Phil says, Frank, the lunatics are running the show. Where are the peace protesters? Greenham, they'll get nicked. They'll get nicked, Phil. get nicked. And the poet, Daniel Craig certainly has established connections, though Frank. Didn't know that about him. I thought he was just an ordinary lad. No. People think, yeah, of course he's got connections. I think he's a terrible actor. Not being funny. The only acting he does is pouting. That's it. And he's a red. They can't even point to New York or Los Angeles on the map, let alone Venezuela or Greenland or Iran or Cuba. I think you'll know this fella, Jackson Hinkle. And I subscribed to him. He's only a young fella. And I used to listen to him until out of the blue, Johan, he said, he just mentioned the UK and England. He said, what do I want to go there for? There's nothing there for me. It's just there. And the nation is full of inbreds. Lots of fucking meet him. That's what he said. Hinkle. Yank. Prick. And he even commented, George Galway, I said, what are you having him on for? That's why I don't comment now anymore on the Galway show. Used to comment. He had a couple of my notes, actually. Comments. Never comments again on it. And Phil says, Frank, the attacks are aimed to cause a response. Bar stewards, in my opinion only, nutters, Wang Shennet is totally avoidable. Thanks, Phil, for that. I don't know what that means, but I agree with you. Wang Ad Shen, it is totally avoidable. Everything's avoidable. And the poet says, big up Tommy White Gardens. My grandparents, go away. I was christened in the church next to it. Go away. Our Lady Immaculate, the original one. Go away. Do you know what? I'm going to tell you something about that. You might know this, poet, but let me know if you did know about it. When they were making the Catholic Cathedral, they was going to have Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception, right, as the cathedral. They were going to build up around in the valley, Everton Valley. And they said, no, it's too, where it is. You can't put that there, a big cathedral. Just block everything. Yeah, that was going to be the site of it. But leave like the altar and things, religious things about it. Don't know whether you know about that, poet. And Phil says, only nutters want war. Auto spelling went mad. Thank you, Phil. I thought you was trying to send me a code. Or Lee Brady, who works for MI6. And the T says to Janet, do you remember the film Give My Regards to Broad Street starring the birthday boy? Yeah. Yeah. I remember that myself. And the poet says, only nutters and defence contractors, Phil. Peace is not a good business model when you are a weapons manufacturer. But they all get paid, don't they, off them? That's why politicians are corrupt. Okay, now I'll have to turn. Do you know what? My legs are killing me, you know. Yeah, that's why you've got the likes of politicians, especially in America, though, because they've got a Congress and they can get up and, lobby for war because they're being told that little brown envelopes to lobby for war by other people from a different country. That's a tiny little country. And Phil to Lee, Father, third parody is that the milk float wouldn't stop. Not the train with Denzel in. I was talking about Denzel Washington once, and this arsehole, trying to be fucking funny, she was. It's not Denzel. I said, oh, who is it then? She said, Denzel. I said, Denzel. Oh, okay, then. But anyway, Denzel. Ridiculous. It's some fucking hard. I'm not saying all Yanks are fucking nutters like and don't know a fuck all, but some people here. And she says, yeah, he is, said that. See? And Jeanette says, I subscribe to Greenpeace this week. Greenpeace is a wonderful thing. The unfortunate thing is they're being stopped now. They're being, when they went to give food to Gaza, the West Bank, they were being stopped. That was piracy, by the way, by this little tiny country. Piracy. And once they did that, sorry, but I've got an itchy nose. Messed up. When they did that, that gave the impetus for Trump to go and pirate some tankers. Oh, well, no one's saying nothing. I think I'll do that. And if anyone thinks that this memorandum, this peace thing, of understanding, if you know what I mean, what the fuck is that all about? But that's for tomorrow. If you think that's going to be held, nah. Paul Weller is playing tonight on the waterfront, says the T. Is he? Paul Weller? No, we'll be going there. And Barry said, got to charge me phone. Try and get back later if you're still... No. What time is it? You're watching a match. Can't kid me, Barry. I was waiting for you this week, by the way, or last week. I'll be down, Frank. Okay. Barry's in the show. He's up some good songs. He went with Weller. And Paul says, our Greenpeace still going? They were pretty radical outfits in the 70s and 80s. Can't do it now. Can't do it now. We're all being controlled, people, whether you like it or not. And the Pat says, peace is not a good business model when you are terrible humans. That's why they always want war. Has the planet ever been free from war? Say, like, go back to, say, the Roman times and the Roman Empire. Has there always been peace? Even in the Middle East, you had wars, didn't you? Always had wars, thousands of years. So there's always wars there. And then since, like, shall we say, the Romans really with building the empire in North Africa and East and West, there's always been a war. Because you always had the dissidents, didn't you, fighting the Romans, fighting the regimes that come in to take your land and resources. But I look at the Romans as educational people, building roads and temples, and they've never seen anything like it. I'll tell you, I'll give you an example of what it would be like. If you go into the middle of the Amazonian jungle, because there's still people there who've never seen a white person. So you go in and they'll jump. And then all of a sudden you pull out a telly, a big 65-inch telly, stick it down and press something and it comes on. They'd be amazed. They'd be looking behind it to see if, you see, say like they just show a picture of, say like, what as we have the other week? The Trooper of the Colour, Trooper of the Guards or whatever it's called. You know, when the Queen used to sit there. They'd be looking behind it to see if there's people there. See what I mean? And that's what it's like. Must think that I'm crackers. My church was Our Lady's Immaculate and St. Joseph's Prescott. That's nice, Janet. And Phil says to the Pope, I have grown, older, appreciate some of the activists. Even Swamp. Do you remember Swampy? Yeah, remember him? Remember him? On the news at 10 for weeks. He was saving the trees, wasn't he, Swampy? But the way the press, they skittered at him. They skittered at him. And he'd know more than them about the environment, about nature. Swampy. But they skittered at him. They made fun of him. They poked fun at him. Like they always do. And the Pat. Evening, Frank the Great. Thank you, the Pat. Thank you. And Ironside says, the Leutchen's crypt is often referred to as Liverpool's third cathedral. Yep, I did my exams in there. And I was showing people, was that Francine with me? Not quite so sure now. And I went, That's where I sat. Because exams were coming up and they still had them in the crypt. I said, that's where I sat. It was against the wall, little desk. All those years ago. Its maze of deep purple English brick, barrel vaults, and Gustavino tiling is still open to visitors and to be explored today. Yeah, they used to bring them down there. I'll tell you who I brought down there. Rita Tushingham. Shows her around again. Someone said she was just there. I didn't see her. And anyway, this one of the guides of the cathedral said, go and see him. He'll tell you lots. And it was here, Rita Tushingham. Hello. Pretty little thing she was. And I showed her around, told her what all the stained glass was all about, the altar in the centre. And she went, that's unbelievable. Because the altar, what's above the altar, is the crown of thorns. I said, do you know what they are, what they represent that over there? She said, no. I said, and I brought her outside. I said, yeah, look. So I looked up. I said, you see that? She said, yeah. Right at the top of it, I said, that's the crown of thorns, waiting to go on to the Christ's head. And she went, and then when I brought her inside, I said, you see the splashes of red on the blue sky? She said, yeah. I said, well, and then I looked at the middle of the altar overhead. I said, that's the crown being put on. And they're the splashes of blood of the Christ as it, with the thorns. She just looked at me. Then I showed her Sean Rice's fantastic Stations of the Cross. And I showed her one. I said, I'm going to show you something there. You're going to be looking up, but you'll be looking down. And she couldn't get it, what I said then. So was it? And she stopped me. She said, are we coming to it? I said, yeah. I said, you'll see it now. So when we got to it, I said, yeah, look at that. And she looked up. And she just turned to me. She said, it's remarkable. I said, I told you, didn't I? Because what you see, the way Sean Rice did it, unbelievable. You see the Christ, and when he fell with the cross, because it was heavy, sorry about this. When he fell with the Christ and he looks up, he's looking up, but he's looking up towards his dad in heaven. But as you're looking at it, you're actually looking down. He's looking down. It's incredible. Brilliant the way he did it. You're looking down. So you are like, say, Christ's dad, if you're looking down, because he's looking up at you. And you're looking down, albeit that you're looking up. She was amazed. She said, oh, wow. Then I asked her to marry me. She said, oh, piss off, not marrying you. So I said, okay, then. Right. I think I heard you mention that about the cathedral on Radio Merseyside donkeys ago, Frank. I knew about it, but because of you. Thanks, poet. Funny enough, I got a text message yesterday of the 18th. Frank, are you still doing this? And then one of the girls replied to me today. She said, no, strange, isn't it? And Gary says, 5 sitcoms, still game. I hardly watch them, you know. But I did watch comedy shows like Fawlty Towers, like Rigsby, Dad's Army, Porridge. They were out of this world. And the Invaders. And the past says, was in the Liverpool Cathedral. Oh, go away. That building is a true masterpiece. It's majestic in there. Right, the Liverpool Cathedral. I remember doing something for them. And I was saying about the Anglican Cathedral, and this fucking fella came up to me. Don't know what he was. He was one of their officials. He said, it's the Liverpool Cathedral. I said, if I'm doing a DVD for you, or the film, whatever you want me to do, I said, it's got to be Anglican because there's another cathedral down the bottom. We don't mention that, he said. I said, don't you? Oh, right, okay. So they don't exist. Fucking bunch of arseholes they were. They were horrible to me because they found out I was Catholic. And I remember outside there, and I was standing on the grave of Giles Gilbert Scott, right outside the cathedral. And I said, it's a shame, really, because cars and lorries and it keep going over this. It's going to smash up in the end. And someone was listening to me because I was being filmed. And they said, you shouldn't be saying that. I said, saying what? About the grave? I said, why? I said, if he's the architect, get onto this. If he's the architect of the cathedral, he should be buried inside the cathedral. And he said, well, we can't. I said, I know, because he was Catholic. I said, Henry VIII, who you follow, the Church of England. I said, he died a Catholic. What are you going to say about that? It's just fucking odd. And 2 other people came over to me and went, we know who you are. I said, oh, right, okay, who am I? And he said, well, you shouldn't really be doing this. I said, why? Because, again, Catholicism. I thought, fucking hell. It's just like when it was like about the slave trade. And someone said to me, you shouldn't be doing that because, you know, how can you do about the slave trade? I said, because I know all about it. But you're not black. I said, yeah, so what? I said, I'm not a fucking Roman either. But I know about the Romans. I said, I'm not French. And I know about Napoleon and Dayton and Robespierre and Marie Antoinette. I said, I know about them. Oh, yes, I'm not French. And this is what it's all about. I got grief. Anyway, I never fucking finished it. Fuck yous. It's a great one as well. It's good. What it did. The film work and everything. Brilliant. Some arseholes, honestly. It's one Redpath, says the poet. Still game is hilarious, says the T. Does anyone ever watch a series called I forget what it was called. It was brilliant. American. And I always remember the fella's name. He had an unusual Brian Bembo. Was it Brian Bembo? Or something like that anyway. And you just see it starts off where you see him as a little kid, you know, it's like black and white, and he's looking at a telly which is all crinkly and everything. Looking at the telly like that. So we grew up watching the telly, if you know what I mean. And when he used to go out, is, you know, like if something was happening, it'll go to like a comedy thing, you know, series, or, you know, a thriller or a horror. Does anyone ever see it? No. I forget what it was called. Brian Ben, his name was. Brian Ben. That was his name. So funny. That was one of the best series and clever. You know, something happens, you know, you think of that, like. Red Dwarf was good too. Yeah, the Red Dwarf. It was actually. Yes, Gary. Yes, it was. The C of E won. The C of E won. Just off Duke Street, Port. And Janet says, I know loads of people going to see the Paul Weller tonight. Went to see him at the Mountford Hall. Chocker. Right, has anybody seen The Loft? I asked you to watch The Loft, and you can get it on YouTube. Has anybody seen it? Let me know. Oh, for fuck's sake, where's this? No. Oh, there it is. Yeah, some building that, mate. Brilliant. And Johan says, the tiny hats have 60 days to pull out a false flag. I evens out the MOU, ushering, yes, no chance. I'm made up with Albania throwing Kushner out. He's shouting out, what's a cheeky fuckers? That's how shit. America think that he can just go into a fucking country and start it. Albania. They're getting sick and tired of America, aren't they? But the jam with it, yeah, I like the jam. Well, that's what Paul Weller was with, wasn't it? The jam. And Phil said, Frank, is Spielberg in a psyop? White House supposed to be releasing info. The only thing I know about, I read about him years ago, and everything he does, because I'll tell you why I read about him. It was a little snippet. Now, I know about Charles Dickens and about his characters, and they were based on real life people. So we started to, when I read a little bit, it was like Spielberg, does his films based on real life experience. So I got fascinated with that. So everything that you see, he's experienced it, from UFOs to sharks to everything. Yep. So it's fascinating. Really is fascinating about Spielberg. And you want to, Phil? He was a psyop since he dropped the Schindler List. Schindler's List. That's why I liked him as well. I'll tell you for why. No one would do Schindler's List. Because, you've got all the writers, you've got the actors, you've got the producers, you've got the studios, and they're all owned by those people. And no one would do it. He stepped in and said, I'm doing it. You've got to talk about this man. Schindler. And he had mostly British actors, didn't he? Ben Kingsley. And Ralph Fiennes should have got an Oscar him. Two of them should have got an Oscar. Great they were in that Schindler's List. And the way he did it as well, about that, the little girl. And you just see it everywhere, don't you? In a red coat. Fantastic. And the Pat says, I believe there is a peaceful people, Frank. I just think the war-minded friends are not easily extinguished due to our peaceful nature. That's a good shout, that, but I've always taught this. No matter how we look at things, look, when we're little, little mad kids, and we go to school, and you learn to pray, don't you? Then you try to learn to count. Then you learn to read and write. So as you're growing up, you could be sitting, the tree on a bench. That's the way I looked at it. And you could be sitting like to two little black kids the same age, and you'd be having fun together. But as you get older, and you're becoming into, say, like, your late your teens, and then you hear other people saying something about a black community, for example. Could you imagine it today? Being told, when I was growing up, nothing happened. And then, see, that's how people become racist by someone saying, and but could you imagine today if you were a lot younger and what you see on social network and what you're hearing? Say like that Nowak lad, say the grooming gangs and things like that. How would you feel? You yourself, if all of a sudden you were transported as a, when you find out things, what do you think? Wow. Is this how it's going to be? And there was a speech by Enoch Powell, Conservative MP. And I even said at the time, why is he talking like that? That was going to... And now you're getting people on social network actually saying about the speech. He was right. You see? And that's what you've got to be careful of. It's like wars. It's like wars, unfortunately. And Lee Brady, I think I know who you mean, Frank, with the American students who knew nothing. The podcast fella asked them all kinds of questions, even about their own. Yes, like what's the capital of the USA? They didn't know. Even, yeah, they didn't. You're right, and they don't even know what the questions meant. All they know is TikTok and the Kardashians. Yes, because he said that, didn't he? He said, "Can you name the Kardashians?" And this girl just went right through, named a lot. The rest of the world and his story doesn't exist. What a waste of life. They even still believe they won the war, but that's for another night. Lee, well, you know all about it because you're in MI6, Lee, under an assumed name to spy on us all. Yes, poet, the cathedral is a modern day world wonder, says Rapath. I could tell you something about the Catholic Cathedral because Sir Edwin Lutyens, he designed it, and he said it's going to be the biggest in the world. This. So anyway, I think it was Pope Pius the 12th. I'm not quite so sure, but he sent for him. He said, "Hey, listen, you can't have the church built bigger than St. Peter's." And he went, "Okay." He said, "Just grade it down a little." So it was going to be the second biggest. But I don't want to say it on here why it wasn't built, unfortunately. But I do know why. Because somewhere in the mess of my thing, I have minutes having a clue where they are. Minutes of a meeting with councillors as it was being built. So that's why it wasn't built. And the excuse to spin was, the war came about and, there was no money, load of bollocks. And Phil says, Frank, is there the first time in human history when instant worldwide communications is possible? In older times, they used to lack of communication, and now they use instant communication to play us to war. Well, let's take Rome. Let's go back 2,000 years ago. And there was a fellow by the name of Vericus. And these two fellas, Togidobnus and Caraticus, was trying to take over a tribe. But that was a client kingdom, you see. His tribe, this Vericus. So he gets over to Rome. He had to go to Rome, wasn't picking a phone up. And anyway, he gets to Rome and he said, listen, can you do something about it? Now, the Romans, especially the Praetorian Guard, needed a Roman general as emperor. But unfortunately, Claudius, he wasn't a soldier at all. So this gave them the excuse. You always had the Romans, weren't as barbarian, weren't as barbarous as, people make out to be. They always had to have a motive, a reason to go into another country. And that was the reason when this Vericus fella came over. And he says, yeah, we'll go in and sort them out. So anyway, they went over and sorted it out. And they stayed. And I think it was 485 that they actually, was the fall of the Roman Empire. And that was in 1843, 1842, 1843, that they came over, led by Aulus Plautius and 4 legions, 40,000 men crossing the sea, the English Channel, which was known as Oceanus Britannicus. They crossed it, got here, sorted us, and sorted. There was a. This is how great the Romans were. They wanted this Caraticus. They really want dead or alive. So anyway, Queen Cartamandua of the Briganti tribe, she captured them. And she waited for the Romans to come. Now, what did you think happened? Well, what has happened? They brought them back to Rome. They actually brought them back to Rome, paraded them around in an open cart. And they were saying, this is the toughest fella, like Oliver Reed or someone. This is the toughest fella in England. In Britannicus, a great warrior. They called him a great warrior. But we defeated him. And what they did, they gave him a pension and a villa to live off the rest of his life. Caraticus. That's what the Romans were like. Got rid of them pesky dead druids. He did human sacrifices. And Johan says, that's why we must be all a Winston Smith from Eric Blair's 1984, not in awe of the technology, instead of an air of utter, well, we're always being suspicious though. It's how you learn yourself. If you just sit back and watch the telly, it's only like what Lee Brady said about these Americans who knew about the Kardashians rather than, what the world affairs. And it's the same here. It's the same here. I always remember, I think it was, I don't know what election it was. And it was just on the news, And they were talking to 2 girls. And they had a picture up of Gordon Brown. And they said, do you know who that is? Gordon Brown and David Cameron. Right? So they had it up. And this was in the middle of London. Where you have them big screens going around Piccadilly Circus or whatever. And he said, do you know who they are? No. And have a guess what they put up? They put pictures up, like of cast members out of EastEnders. They knew every one of them. From Dirty Den or whoever. I don't watch it, But that's really, it's just like the Kardashians. So as we grow up, we had to play. We had to play out, kicking a ball or whatever. And we used to go to the pictures. And you used to queue up to get in to see something. Because let's be honest, one station when I was growing up on telly, a little mad thing. But you're still looking at, wow. So as we grew up, and the most, I don't know, I could go on and on and on about it. But today's totally different. Today. You've got all the social networking. You've got nasty people on it. You've got lots of racism on it. You've got everything. And that's the unfortunate thing. And people believe it. More people are believing now in racism. They're not worried. They're not worried what they say now. I was watching some American forget his name. Fucking hell, you should hear him. Big fella. Muscles. Tattoos. And he was going on about a lad named Camillo Anthony, who stabbed and killed a white lad. And the black lad's parents set up a GoFundMe. Now, they were ordinary people, not a penny. They never had anything. And they got over $600,000 in for the defence of the son. They ended up, looking hilarious actually, they ended up buying them big mansion, cars, everything. And they got, like an appointed lawyer. They didn't even pay for one to defend his son or their son. And yet you see them on the telly crying and everything. Oh, he's going away for 35 years. And then people were saying, well, where's the money gone? No, I'm talking about people who gave the money, and they don't know where it is. Because they want the money back, because they never spent a penny on the lad's defence. See, it's things like that. But you had this big fella, should have heard him. And then he had pictures of, footage of people calling the whites for everything. Shocking. Shocking. So it's easily to manipulate. That's all I'm saying. It's easy to manipulate people through social network. And yeah, I can't even play my song. I can't play my song on this show. I've got 2 songs. I'm just a poor boy from Liverpool. Can't even play that because of copyright. I've got the Kitty Wilkinson song. Can't play them. You see, so what's worse? If I kept going on about, certain things that could get me banned, the likes of Gaza places and what Trump's up to, and as Johan said, that won't last. Of course it won't. This thing of understanding, remember that? It's ridiculous. We know what's going to happen. They're restocking. They're restocking their arms because they've got none. Especially the tiny little place in the Middle East, they've got nothing. And America's got nothing. Now he's going back to fight the Russians, and he's already there anyway. The man of peace. What a load of nonsense. He's a warmonger. He likes killing people. Remember when he said only a few weeks ago, we'll blow them all up. We'll get rid of them. That's what kind of a man he is. And he's clamouring for the Nobel Peace Prize. He'll get it. Because that's corrupt now. We're giving that woman the Nobel Peace Prize. Another warmonger. And the poets who, the tradesmen started their apprenticeship on that, mate, and ended up retiring on it too. Apparently it took 70 years to build. Frank will know more. Do you mean the stonemasons? Yeah, and there's still stonemasons working there, by the way. They can't lie. I'm talking, they're the sons of the stonemasons, grandsons, because they still learn the trade and they're still there simply because they have to replace stone. They have to replace stone. But you won't find Gilbert's grave outside there now. They dug him up. Don't know where he is. And St. James's Cemetery doesn't belong to the Anglican. Phil, they are doing their best to stifle the communication privilege, mate. The social media curfews are just so adults prove who they are with digital ID. Good shout that it is, and you're so right. Frank, what did the Americans think about Liverpool after you gave them a tour? I've told you that, haven't I? I gave these Americans, I think I've mentioned this before, and I gave these American, Radio Merseyside said, listen, Frank, will you take? I said, no, don't want to. Anyway, I did. 11 of them. Nice people. But I was down at I started off at the Victoria Monument. And I said, now here we are, showed them the plaque, I showed them everything, showed them the buildings and the street, Castle Street, back Castle Street, the building, which is Castle Moat House. That's the name of the building. So I said, that they're all the clues. I said, because on this site showed them Victoria's monument. I said, this is where the castle was. Big stone castle. Like that. I said, the drawbridge went there, right here. I went over. I said, yeah, right here to Castle Street. That became known as Castle Street. And this fella, have you ever seen the episodes of Fawlty Towers? And there was an American in asking for a Waldorf salad. He was obnoxious. Hey, Foley, I want a Waldorf salad. This type of person. Well, I had him. And he was with me because he put his hand on my shoulder and turned me around as I was walking away because I was going to a different place with them on the group. And I turned and he said, why do you look down the castle? And I said, hang on a minute. I said, it was knocked down in 1724. Well, you're asking me, why did I knock? He said, you know what I mean. And this is the way he was talking to me. I said, well, I never knocked it down. I said, I'm only kidding. We never had one. I said, so every year when it goes dark here, Liverpool University put lights around and they have a big hologram of it so you can see it. And he was just looking at me like that, just to say, you cheeky bastard, I don't believe you. But he couldn't say anything. So anyway, he was still going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. So I got up to Lacey Street. And he was really getting on me. Even the people, the Americans, they got fed up with him as well. And so anyway, I looked up off Lacey Street. I forget the name of the street. I love it. And it's a cobbled street. And it's got Georgian buildings, that were homes, and it still are homes. And I said, that's one of my favourite streets of Liverpool. And this American lady said, why? I said, because look at the cobbles. I said, just look at the cobbles. Look at, the pavements, or you call the sidewalk. Just look. Now look at what's on there. I said, they're Georgian buildings built in the 1700s. I said, look at it. I said, and what you've got at the top, I said, is the biggest Gothic building in the world. And that's the Anglican Cathedral, you see. But I'm trying to describe right at the top of it. And she got it and the rest of them got it. Wow, yeah. You know, Gothic, Cobbles, Georgian. And they're saying a stark difference. I said, yeah. I said, that's the way it is. And then this fucking fella kicked off again. And I went, so fed up, you know, to myself, fucking fed up with you. And I said, look, and I was talking to him now. I said, look, take a good look at that. What you think of it? We've got bigger than that. No, you fucking haven't. I said, what you think of it? And he said, it's magnificent. I said, yeah. I said, well, next week, I said, it's going to be turned into a big American thing. And he went, what? American thing? What? And I said, it's going to be, I said, you see that there, the entrance there? I said, well, the entrance there, I said, what's going to be there, over there, is a big yellow sign. And it goes into a letter M, because that is going to be a McDonald's, and it's going to be the biggest in Europe. You might have a bigger one. I don't know, you know what I mean? But that's going to be. And I forgot to tell them that I was only messing, because I said, come on. Even a couple of Americans were laughing. They fucking knew. So anyway, we walked up. The next day, I get a phone call. I said, what did you tell them that? I said, I was only fucking joking. I said, so a minute. But he phones up, the Waldorf salad fella. I said, what are you knocking down? Why? Why are you making it into a McDonald's? He said, oh, he's only joking with you. That's how to get out of taking stupid people around. I got out of it. Don't ever fucking ask me to do anything like that again. Good over. And the billionaires aren't buying up all the news on social media because it makes money. Yes, because they buy it to push their agendas and maintain their control of the lower class. Yes. And the post says, wasn't Rita in a state taste? Yeah, I mentioned that. Actually. I said it was the first racial thing, wasn't it, Rita? She said, yeah, black and white. She said, do you remember that? I said, yeah. Yeah, thinking great. And I remember you acting with Oliver Reed in the trap. I think it was called The Trap. She said, yeah. She said, we filmed that in Canada. She said it was freezing. Was it? I was going to say to me, you know, but your Oliver kept you warm though, didn't he? Couldn't say that. She's a lovely woman. Yeah, so Sheila Delaney broke down a lot in barriers. She did. But people didn't like it, did they? Unfortunately. As you said, breaking down a lot of barriers, but a lot of barriers are thrown up as well, if you know what I mean. I was there many years ago for the beer festival, says Janet. Where? Have I mentioned somewhere? Oh, do you mean? No, that was in the Catholic Cathedral, the beer festival. Unless they had one as well in the Anglican, I don't know. And Janet says, I love Motherland and Amandaland. Oh, okay. That's good. Oak Street, Frank. Yes, Oak Street. It's the only street in the world with it's the only street in the world with 2 cathedrals at either end. The only one. Even Italy hasn't got it. Rome hasn't got it. Florence hasn't got it. Nowhere's got it. America certainly hasn't got it. Only us. Africa, oh yay, this weekend. So my old road will be swamped with litter again. Yes. Yes. Stephen Cloughlin. There we go. Good evening, Frank and fellow Reds. Chatters, fellow Reds chatters. Hope you're well, folks. You'll never walk alone. Good evening, Stephen Cloughlin. You've missed everything tonight, Steve, unfortunately. Everything. Unbelievable football news and things like that. Unbelievable. And Johan said, and you're not Ukrainian to know that the Green Goblin cannot play the piano with his manhood. You know, I could say things there, Johan. Hope you get this dealt with. I hope they get dealt with, Frank. Say Stephen Koch. They will. They will, Stephen. Phil. Frank, what did they think about the film? The Truman Story. What did you think about the film? Frank, what's it? What did I think about it? The Truman Story. I haven't seen it. Brilliant. Brian Benben is married to Madeline Stowe. Go away, I didn't even know that. Madeline Stowe. Did you ever watch the series? No, CW. Brilliant it was. Absolutely brilliant. Phil says, Frank, I'm too busy watching your show to watch any film. I really think CW's the only fella. And Johan, because Johan hasn't been on for a couple of weeks because he had to walk to from the Himalayas. He had to cross into Russia on walking. Okay. That's why he hasn't been on for ages. Keeping those wolves at bay, going through them pesky big forests in Siberia to get to St. Petersburg. And he says, Frank, The Loft is a cracking thriller. Thank you. Keep telling them. Watch The Loft. No one takes a blind bit of you know what of me. And the poet says, what year was the sectarian stuff, Frank? The 60s or something? Are you talking here? You're talking here 50s, 40s, 50s? I'm sorry. If you're talking about me, it was the 50s. But if you're talking about, in Liverpool, it goes back to the when a fella named George Wise came up from Sussex, great orator. And he really needed. See, I don't like talking about sectarianism. I don't like talking about Wise because you had a group of people calling themselves the Wiseites. I'll give you some idea. You've got in Ukraine, now you must know this, poet. You've got in Ukraine a group of people called the Azovs, soldiers, carrying out atrocities. And you've got, their God, shall we say, was a fellow by the name of Stepan Bandera. And they still, to this day, idolize him. And who was Stepan Bandera? One nasty Nazi who had hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians, Poles, and Russians exterminated. And these are the Azovs fighting in Ukraine against the Russians today. So, what you had, going back to Liverpool, and the Wiseites, they adored him. And there was lots of trouble between Catholic and Protestant. Here. And it went right up. I think I mentioned this the other night. I remember our school teacher. He said, "Now, I don't want you to go out now and start throwing stones at the other people marching. If you're told that as a little mad kid, or like as a 10-year-old, what are you going to do? You're not going to, no one took any notice of teachers, did they? When I was at school anyway. I went to see Tom's inauguration. Did you? Very good. Good. Good that, Janet. I like inauguration. I really do. Because they've achieved something. And it's been 5 years since the last James Bond film. By the time they have written, cast filmed and produced, it will be getting on for 10 years, which is ridiculous. I think Henry Cavill should be the next James Bond. But I'm afraid, don't forget, I've told you this before. James Bond was, I'm telling you now, was based on, never come out, like, was based on Christopher Lee. Dracula, I'm telling you. I'm telling you now. Excuse me. So you see, now you've got woke in charge. And here's what I'm afraid of. If they have, say the likes of Idris Elba, who I think's a great actor. Great actor. Love him. Playing the part. Is that right or wrong? And I think this is why. I think the wokeness has come right through to, I think that's where it's a sticky problem. I'm not saying that Idris Elba, by the way. I'm just saying someone of the caliber of Idris Elba. And this is where the problem is, and they're having their terrible thoughts and nudges and winks, and if you know what I mean. Tom Williams was really good with Chris, who passed away, and you're talking about Bishop Tom, aren't you? He likes me, by the way. I had to give a talk. He just gave a talk, and I had to give a talk after him. He said, "Frank, where have you been?" I said, "I've been walking here." I said, I can hardly walk. And he said, you're not telling me a fib, are you? I said, no, I was going to tell you a fib. I said, I can hardly walk. He said, okay. Because it was late. And Janet says, Gordon Brown, as a child with cystic fibrosis, I had 2 children with my daughter is almost 41 now, born on St. Swithin's Day. She got a cystic. That's terrible, that. And Phil says, Janet, that is very tough. And still, at 41 is pretty incredible, yeah. She loves life, you see. And to have that horrible disease. And Frank says, Barry, did you ever see Spring and Port Wine with brilliant actor James Mason? Please correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, Spring and Port Wine. Yeah, seen it. And he plays he plays an older man, doesn't he? From his usual brilliant accent. Spring and Port Wine. Yes, black and white again. Oh, Jesus, this is... My nostrils are terrible. Jesus, they're just itchy, the pair of eyes here. Do you think if I got a ring through my nose, it'd stop all that? I'm going to get my hair cut the next time. I'm getting a cut short. Not bald or anything, just like short. Sure, I'm fed up with this. And Stephen says, nice to see Diogo Jota Memorial will be in store by Friday. Yes. Yeah. That will be nice. That will be nice, Stephen. The saddest person who dared to show his face on TV was the son of the Shah who lives in... Yes. Yes. He's a puppet, isn't he? For the Americans. He's a puppet. I don't think that the ordinary Iranians want him there. No way. That poor bit. Still in Tenerife. Loving the show. Cathy sends it. Oh, thank you, Cathy. Make sure. Pina colada every night. Loads of them. Cat. Still haven't had my teeth on. Still haven't had it on. They want 2 grand off me. But I don't know where the Deb is tonight. She's vanished without trace. Who said that she could get me it done for 485 quid, I think. And Paul says, Tenerife. I'm sure you've got a villa there, Sly Boots. No, Tenerife. He's always there. Where are you, Paul? I'm in Tenerife now. Me and Kat. And Johan. Also watched the Mark Levitt. Oh, he's on Benship. Oh, class out on YouTube. They're horrible to them. They are horrible. Ben Shapiro. He was trying to, he was saying something that Shapiro, he was trying to say about, immigrants and, with that Nowak lad and about the beheading. Or the trial of beheading, the attempted beheading of that lad in Belfast. And he's saying, this is what they're like. This is why they should be wiped off the face of the earth. But if we said that about a race of people, we'd be jailed right away. Johan. can't read that. And Phil says, do you think 20-minute tribute should end? Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. Or carry on next season. No, it's becoming ridiculous. I would prefer it to stop. In no way disrespect him, but time to move on. But I might be odd. No, you're not the odd one out. I'm with you all the way. I think it should have stopped. See, they came out and said it's going to stop at the 20th game. Still carried on. It's like the taking the knee. I totally disagreed with that. You know, we've got to stop racism. Yeah, we've got it on the day. It hasn't fucking stopped it. Taking the knee. And I was taking the knee for a fella named George Floyd, who was a thug. A horrible thug. Who put a gun to the belly of I think she was 7 months pregnant, said, where's the Josh? Where's the cash? And the girls didn't know. They went into their own house. Nothing gets done about that. Nothing said about that. He was a thug. But he got his family there very rich, didn't he? With all the GoFunding and everything else and statues and making them into a martyr. So I disagree with things that come into football, to be honest. I didn't mind the 20 minutes to, memorise and remember his shirt number. But, to do it every game. It's becoming Americanised. And I don't like that. And Janice said, is it Chalice well below the Anglican? Is it Chalice well below? My grandson's buried his hamster in those grounds. Is it Chalice well below the Anglican? I don't know what you're talking about. Especially about your hamster. Your grandson's hamster. Come on, give me a break. And yours says, look at the pavement. When you call aside, yeah, I did say that. I don't like all this Americanism, when they say guys, I hate that. I'd rather say fellas. And if it's a female, ladies or girls, that's me. And, hey, let's see that movie. It's a film. It's Americanism, you see. And now it's starting to get, I stopped using the face here. I just even stopped looking at it, to be honest. When this girl said, I'm going to my mom, M-O-M, that was it. Finished with that. Fuck this. Mom. We always say mum or mam. Always have to. And on the same, going down, fuck. This fella said, I think he was talking about football. Do the math. I thought, fuck. I wasn't going to swear, but the whole of Liverpool is quite gothic, says Janet. I'm gothic. My son was a gothic artist. Oh, that's good, Janet. Must have done some good work. Gothic. And Phil says, Frank, Americans exaggerate about... Well, Phil knows that because he's worked in America for yonks. Of course they exaggerate. Everything's bigger. I'm going to finish, boys and girls. That's amazing. Seems there are a few artists amongst the chat. Yes, Phil, they are. And Phil says, it's hard to move on from Jota, so think everyone has been affected by the tragedy of him and his brother. So time to end the Jota song that is sung in the 20th minute of the game, as we need to move on. Yes. Which is what starts singing about Billy Little and Roger Hunt and Arthur Askey. It's the way I look at it. And Phil says, Frank, around Hope Street, the Georgian Quarter is very beautiful. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Yes. And say, Jota will always be remembered, so time to leave him to rest in peace. Yes. I'm going to finish, but got rid of all your comments then. Still spooky on a midwinter's night, though. Yes. The Truman Show was the Jim Carrey film about life being a reality show. Yeah. I've never seen it, though, Johan, The Truman Show. I'm going to go right down, people. Yeah, just walked through China and Mongolia. Brilliant. From India, the Himalayas, rather. Because that's where he was there trying to get hold of these bloody Yetis. And, you know, it's like Gorilla in the Mist with Sigourney Weaver, you know, when she's trying to talk to gorillas. Gorillas in the mist. Yetis in the snow. He was trying to talk to, so he decided, fuck this, I'm going over to St. Petersburg for an American McDonald's in the middle of St. Petersburg. And a bottle of Bud. So that's where he's walked through Mongolia, innit? And Phil says, Johan, you get it. I've got to see some friends from uni, Phil. Oh, that's a crack. When I was growing up, my elder relatives, Catholics, used to call all Protestants George Wises. Wiseites, he was known as, yeah. He's actually buried in Anfield Cemetery. I clocked his grave once when I was walking the dog. Yeah, the Wiseites. I can't do. I can't really do this. I don't like doing it. You see, sectarianism. My nose is itchy. Got an itchy nose. And CW says, Frank, have you seen the film The Ministry of Agents of Ungentlemanly Warfare, starring Henry Cavill? Brilliant, no? I like Cavill. He should be the next James Bond, him. He really should. I'm not just saying that. Ben Shapiro chat was asking him during COVID, why does he wear his mask on his head? Oh, go away. Go away. He's always got it on, hasn't he? Always. And Janet, film. Yeah. It's film. Yes, film. That's what people say, film. You should have film. And Janet says, it's near the end. Do I allow to go off subject? Johan, I've seen some concerts by the sounds of things. Yeah, you have seen some concerts by the sounds of things. To filter here, Janet. And on that note, I'm going to go simply because I don't know why. It's just that my bum's killing me sitting here. And I've been on for 2.5 hours. Been great tonight. Thank you. And don't forget, I've got it all to come tomorrow. I'm doing the be about Zelensky, fucking Bounder rights and Trump, Iran. So if you join me tomorrow night, fucking hell, I can't stand this. I've got this mad little thing, honest. I'm dying for a cup of tea as well, because Jason isn't here. Normally, he throws something on, I make a cup of tea. And she's like Frank and chat. Thank you. See you tomorrow, I hope. And the Phil says, thanks, Frank and chatters. No, thank you, Phil. And tell Julie I was very impressed with her. She's a lovely lady. Lovely lady. Funny. Take care, Franco and legends. See you tomorrow. God bless you. Isn't that lovely? See, Ali came on before, didn't he? I went, our moderator, Ali. I've got, must be football on some. Paul Mescal. Who's he? Should be the next. Who's he? Never heard of him. Never heard of him, Jeanette. The bloopers were class last night, says Johan. Where they now? And Phil says, you're an old smoothie. That sounds like a milkshake, that. Might like a milkshake. Anyway, I'm going. Oh, to see us all tomorrow night. I really, well, not at all. I know that, some of you won't be bothered because they don't like about current affairs. And, you know what I mean? So, but at least we'll have a good chat. Thank you so much for tonight. Thank you, honestly. Great people, great everything. And see you tomorrow, I hope. And I'll have to, when you come on tomorrow, I always forget because it's in my way. I'll mention gap patent services. So if you know anyone in the NHS, elderly or somebody, get these people in for a special discount. Okay. More tomorrow. Thank you so much. And this is Matthew Street on a Saturday night. Behind me. Captain Nemo. Good night, God bless, says Janet. Good night, Janet. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Ciao.